My girlfriend told me, my ex is coming to our party. Be cool, or it's over. So I replied, I'll be cool. But she didn't expect what that really meant. I'm Andrew, 33, architect by trade, control freak by reputation. My love language is spreadsheets. I don't buy throw pillows. I draft floor plans for how the pillows will live. So when I say I spent months planning the housewarming/birthday/dash, welcome to our grown-up life party, understand. I built a mission control. Custom lighting scenes, zoned speakers, a little wall tablet with a clean UI, even a ridiculous doors and drawers sensor map, so I could tell if someone left the freezer cracked. I wrote the code myself between site visits. The coffee table was a prototype I machined at the shop. The coasters matched the grain. It was embarrassing to admit how proud I was. Katherine moved in last winter. Stylist, hurricane, the human opposite of a ruler. She has a habit of hanging scarves on door handles like festive tripwires and saying things like, order is just fear dressed nicely. We fight in circles, then eat pad thai on the floor and swear we're good. I pay the rent, the lease is mine. We call it ours, because love is generous or aspirational, depends on the week. 3 days before the party, I'm testing the party mode scene when she breezes in with a garment bag and news like a confetti cannon. Don't freak out, she sings, but I invited Matthew. I keep my eyes on the tablet. You're Matthew? My ex-Matthew. She unzips the bag, a comet tail of sequins. We're friends now. He's in town. In my head, the sensor map lights up. Pantry open, freezer safe, boundary breach. Out loud I try for neutral. Hey, that makes me uncomfortable. She laughs like I've told a joke badly. Andrew, it's a party, not a tribunal. It's our home, I say. My lease. Can we not make this weird? Her smile goes winter flat. You're always so carefully threatened. Be cool about it, or it's over. The words land with the neatness of a framing nail. No wobble, no apology. She slides past me to the mirror, testing earrings, already done with the conversation, like it's a wardrobe note I'll fix in post. I look at the tablet. Be cool. In my system, dims the lights to 30%, warms the whites, softens edges. It occurs to me that I can define cool however I want. Unexpected things happen that night, as if the building senses my decision. The upstairs neighbor's parrot, yes, a parrot, learns our door chime and starts ringing it at random. A locksmith flyer appears under the mat with the slogan, "We change what no longer fits." My site foreman texts a photo of a hairline crack in a beam I designed years ago. Look familiar? It does. Katherine tests the speakers with a playlist full of throwback songs she knows I hate. I watch her dance around my carefully placed furniture in a dress she calls chaotic good, and I realize I'm not threatened. I'm tired. Tired of negotiating my own boundaries like a zoning variance. Okay, I say, when she finally looks up. My voice surprises both of us. Calm, easy. I'll be cool. She grins, victorious already. See? Growth. I nod and kiss her forehead, then open my laptop. I schedule the lighting scenes. I program a new routine called Over. I export the inventory of my personal property to a secure drive, photograph serial numbers, back up the smart system offsite. For the first time in months, my shoulders drop. The plan feels like oxygen. That night, while she sleeps diagonally across what used to be my side of the bed, I sit on the floor with a blueprint and a pen. I draw a door where a wall used to be. Not in the apartment. In my life. Be cool? Absolutely. I'll be the coldest man in the room. The night of the party arrived like a blueprint I'd already memorized, perfectly proportioned, scheduled, and rehearsed. The place looked incredible. Every bulb at just the right temperature. Music cross-fading through zones like it was mixed by angels. Drinks lined up by color gradient. Guests started trickling in around 7. My coworkers, some clients, a few of Katherine's stylist friends with neon hair and ironic sunglasses. Everyone complimented the space. God, Andrew, this looks like a magazine spread. How long did this take you? This is insane, man. I smiled, nodded, answered with the precision of someone who'd built his identity around having it together. Katherine was magnetic, of course, she always was. She floated between groups like a sparkler, laughing too loud, touching everyone's arm, her perfume hovering just long enough to make people lean closer. I kept my distance and poured drinks. Around 8:30, the doorbell chimed, the specific chime I'd coded for unrecognized guest. Catherine's face brightened. That's him. And in walks Matthew. Tall, rugged, that lazy confidence of someone who's never once been told to wipe his shoes before walking in. He had this smirk that felt permanently affixed to his face, like he'd practiced it in a mirror labeled charm. "Hey man," he said to me, extending his hand. "You must be the architect." I shook it. "And you must be the guest I didn't invite." Katherine shot me a look, half warning, half plea. "Andrew, be cool." "Oh, I am," I said, smiling just enough that no one could tell what I meant. The evening blurred. Drinks, laughter, polite small talk with the people who didn't know what was brewing underneath. I could feel Catherine's tension, though, like she was waiting for me to crack, to prove her point that I couldn't handle her free-spiritedness. Around 10, I decided it was time. I clinked my glass with a spoon, and the music automatically dimmed. Everyone turned. "Hey, everyone," I began. "Thanks for coming tonight. This place has been a labor of love, and I couldn't have done it without, well, let's just say, some memorable lessons along the way." Katherine looked uneasy. "Andrew." I smiled at her, then turned to Matthew. "Matthew, welcome. Glad you could make it." He gave a confused half nod. Thanks, man." I put my drink down. "Now, I'm going to do what I do best, stick to the plan. I told Katherine I'd be cool tonight, or it's over." I let that sink in. So, I'm being cool. The room went silent except for the soft hum of the air purifier. I looked Matthew dead in the eye and said, "She's all yours." Then I picked up my jacket, walked out the front door, and with one tap on my phone, triggered the over sequence. The smart lights faded out, the music cut mid-beat, and the temperature control switched to away. Guests stood there blinking in dim blue light as the automatic blinds closed like stage curtains. Behind me, through the walls, I heard the awkward shuffle of confusion, the party dissolving into silence. A minute later, I got a text from Katherine. "Katherine, what the hell did you just do?" "Me. You told me to be cool, or it's over." I chose over. Then I blocked her number and took a long walk through the city, my phone buzzing endlessly in my pocket. The night air felt electric, sharp, final. I'd never felt so calm in my life. Back home, I stayed in a hotel. When I finally opened my email the next morning, I found 30 unread messages from her, and one from the property manager that made my stomach twist. "Hey Andrew, just a heads up, someone requested to change the locks on your unit this morning. Said it was for security reasons. We called to confirm it was you." It wasn't. And that's when I realized being cool was over. Now it was time to be cold. The next morning, I walked into the building lobby with 2 coffees, one for myself, one for the property manager, Craig, who looked like a man permanently caught between tenants' chaos and caffeine dependence. "Hey, Craig," I said calmly, handing him the cup. "You got my email?" He nodded. "Yeah, about the lock request. A woman named Katherine called. Said you two split, and she needed to change them for her safety." I exhaled slowly. "For her safety?" Craig scratched his head. "Said something about you storming out, taking your tech offline, and leaving her in the dark. Honestly, she sounded pretty rattled." "She wasn't in danger," I said evenly. "She was embarrassed. There's a difference." He gave me the kind of look landlords reserve for soap operas. "Legally, she's listed as your permitted occupant. So technically, she can't change the locks without your consent." "Good," I said. "Because I'm revoking it." Craig blinked. "You're kicking her out?" "Not kicking," I said. "Evicting. There's a process." He whistled low. "You're not wasting time, huh?" "I've spent 3 years trying to be reasonable," I replied. "Now I'm just being lawful." When I got upstairs, the key still worked, but the atmosphere didn't. The apartment smelled like stale wine and cheap perfume. Katherine was sitting on the couch, wearing one of my shirts, her hair in wild waves, a bottle of rose half drained beside her. "Oh, look who decided to show up," she said, eyes red. "The great architect returns to inspect the ruins." "I'm just here to get my laptop," I said, staying near the door. She stood up, wobbling slightly. "You humiliated me in front of everyone, Andrew. Do you have any idea how that felt?" "Yes," I said quietly. "It felt like what I felt when you invited your ex to my home without asking." "That's not the same thing," she snapped. "You went nuclear." "You gave me an ultimatum," I reminded her. "And I chose." Her expression shifted, hurt mixing with fury. "You think you can just walk away like that? This is our place." "It's my lease," I said. And you have until the end of the month to move out. She crossed her arms. Not happening. I've talked to a lawyer. I have tenant rights. Tenant. I repeated, incredulous. You don't pay rent. Doesn't matter, she said smugly. I've received mail here for over 6 months. That makes me a legal occupant. You can't just throw me out. I laughed once, not out of humor, but disbelief. You're quoting Reddit threads as legal advice? She smirked. Guess you'll have to call the cops then, Mr. Lawful. I nodded slowly. Oh, I will. And the court too. Then I turned to leave. Where are you going? She demanded. To file paperwork, I said, pausing at the door. And Katherine, don't touch my smart home system again. You wouldn't want to accidentally trigger something you can't control. She tried to look defiant, but her lip trembled. You're really doing this? Yes, I said. Because being cool was easy. Being free takes work. That night, I sat in a diner with my laptop, drafting a detailed property inventory for the eviction filing. Each line item read like a eulogy for patience, TV, espresso machine, sound system, dignity. When I closed the document, I noticed a notification pop up from the smart system. Access attempt detected. Unknown user, Matt_1990. I stared at it. Katherine hadn't just stayed. She'd invited him to move in. And that's when the story stopped being about heartbreak and started being about war. 2 days later, I returned to grab some of my things and maybe, stupidly, see if reason still had a pulse. The elevator opened on my floor, and before I could even unlock the door, I heard laughter. Deep, male laughter. I froze. Then came her voice. Katherine's, lighter, flirtier, a tone I hadn't heard since before she moved in. I unlocked the door. The first thing I saw was Matthew's duffel bag. The second was him, barefoot in my living room, wearing my t-shirt. My favorite t-shirt. He gave me that same lazy grin. Hey man, I was just helping her set up some stuff. I stared at the TV behind him. My TV, where Netflix was logged into my account. Really? I said. Because it looks like you're helping yourself to my entire apartment. Katherine appeared from the kitchen holding 2 glasses of wine. Andrew, can we not do this right now? Sure, I said. When's a good time to confront the people squatting in my home? She rolled her eyes. Stop being dramatic. He's just staying for a few days. I looked around. His shoes by the door, a razor in the bathroom, an extra toothbrush next to hers. Right. A few days. Matthew tried to play peacemaker. Look, man, I don't want trouble. I cut him off. Then don't make any. I have no problem calling the police right now. Katherine stepped forward, lowering her voice. You wouldn't. Try me. There was a long silence, tense, awkward, charged. The same kind of silence that happens right before a structure fails under pressure. Then she scoffed. Fine. Call them. They'll just tell you what I already did. You can't throw me out without a court order. She said it with such confidence that for a moment I wanted to believe she'd actually done her research. But I had already spoken to a lawyer. I knew exactly what my next steps were. I'm done arguing, I said. You'll be hearing from my attorney. Her face changed. Not fear, not guilt, but surprise. Like she hadn't expected me to actually do something. I grabbed my work bag, the hard drives containing my architectural projects, and my framed sketches. On my way out, I looked at Matthew. Good luck, man, I said. You're gonna need it. That night, I filed for formal eviction under my city's landlord-tenant laws. Because the lease was solely in my name, it was straightforward, slow, but solid. My attorney said it could take weeks, maybe a month. I could wait. I had time and documentation. But waiting didn't mean peace. Katherine started playing dirty almost immediately. First came the barrage of texts. You're heartless. I have nowhere to go. You're ruining my life. Then, when I didn't answer, she began contacting my coworkers through social media, spinning a story about how I'd emotionally abused her. Then came the weird stuff. My mail started disappearing, my Amazon packages went missing, and I got a notification that someone had tried to reset the smart home admin password again. Every attempt came from the same device name, Matt's iPhone. They were nesting. Together. In my space. I visited once more with police accompaniment, just to document my property for insurance. The officer stood beside me as we walked through the apartment. Katherine refused to meet my eyes. Matthew leaned on the kitchen counter like he owned the place. When we left, the officer said quietly, You're doing the right thing. Just keep it legal. People get ugly during evictions. He was right. Because 2 weeks later, I got a call from the property manager. Andrew, he said carefully, there's a complaint from the downstairs unit. Something about screaming, broken glass, and, possible water damage from your apartment. My stomach dropped. What kind of water damage? I asked. He sighed. Apparently someone flooded your bathroom. And just like that, I realized. They weren't just staying. They were destroying my home. When Craig called about the flooding, I thought he was exaggerating. He wasn't. The next morning, I arrived with a maintenance supervisor and my attorney's paralegal for documentation. The second the door opened, I was hit with the smell of mildew, cheap air freshener, and something burnt. The bathroom door was swollen from water damage, and when I pushed it open, I saw the floor covered in soaked towels. The sink was running, a slow, constant trickle, and the towel rack had been ripped right out of the drywall. Katherine appeared behind me in an oversized sweatshirt, her eyes bloodshot. It was an accident, she said flatly. The faucet broke. I crouched to inspect it. The faucet wasn't broken, it was unscrewed. The handle had been twisted until the joint popped loose. Accident, I repeated quietly. She crossed her arms. Don't start, Andrew. I'm not starting, I said. I'm finishing. Matthew wandered out from the bedroom, shirtless and yawning. What's the big deal? It's just water. Water damages structural floors, I snapped. It seeps into sublayers and causes mold. It's not a big deal. It's thousands of dollars in repairs. He smirked. Damn, you talk like a homeowner. I am a homeowner, I shot back. And you're an uninvited guest. The paralegal whispered to me. We've got enough to file a damage claim if you document everything. So I took photos. Of everything. The water. The scorch mark near the stove. The shattered frame of my architectural degree. The wine-stained couch. When I finished, I said, I'll send you both the eviction hearing notice within the week. Katherine scoffed. You think I care about your little hearing? I met her eyes. You should. That night, she started calling again. Dozens of missed calls. At one point, a voicemail. You've turned into a stranger, Andrew. You used to care. You used to love me. You're letting lawyers decide who wins instead of talking to me. I deleted it. The next day, I discovered that the smart thermostat, still technically connected through a backup server, was spiking temperatures to 90 degrees Fahrenheit at random. Someone was manually overriding it. So I shut it all down. Permanently. The smart home, the speakers, the cameras, everything disconnected from their devices. All that was left were the lights and the locks, which I'd moved to a cloud account only I could access. That same evening, I stopped by to collect a few personal items with another officer present. Katherine refused to open the door at first. When she finally did, she looked awful, eyes swollen, mascara streaked, wearing one of my old hoodies. Matthew wasn't there. Where's your boyfriend? I asked before I could stop myself. She hesitated. He left. We had a fight. I almost said good. Instead, I asked, are you packed yet? Her jaw tightened. I'm not going anywhere. Then I'll see you in court. She looked like she wanted to cry but refused to give me the satisfaction. You used to be kind. I used to be patient, I said. That's not the same thing. The eviction hearing came fast. Katherine showed up wearing sunglasses indoors and accused me of harassment, emotional distress, and weaponizing technology. The judge listened patiently, then turned to me. Mr. Reed, do you have documentation? I handed over a folder. Photos, timestamps, texts, and even a signed affidavit from the building manager. The judge scanned it for a moment, then sighed. Ms. Holt, you have 14 days to vacate the premises. She gasped. You can't. I can, the judge said simply. And I have. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Walking out of that courtroom felt surreal, like I'd stepped out of a nightmare, but wasn't awake yet. But the next surprise came faster than I expected. 3 days later, I got a text from Craig. Hey Andrew, you might want to come by. She's not taking the news well. When I arrived, I saw Katherine standing on the balcony, spray paint can in hand, bright red streaks across the once pristine walls of my living room, and written in sloppy letters, across the window glass that looked out over the city skyline, were the words, Be cool. The words glared at me through the window like a neon scar. Be cool. The paint dripped down the glass in thick red trails that looked uncomfortably like blood. It was both petty and poetic, the kind of dramatic gesture Katherine specialized in. Craig was standing a few feet back, arms folded, expression tight. I told her to stop. She said it was her artistic expression. I stared at the message for a long time. She always wanted a statement wall, I said dryly. He gave me a look. Andrew, this isn't funny. I know, I said, though part of me wanted to laugh just to keep from losing it. Did you call the police? Already on the way. While we waited, I took more photos. Every angle. The vandalism, the mess, the scattered makeup and torn fabric samples. She'd turned the apartment into something between a fashion studio and a war zone. Then Katherine appeared from the hallway, barefoot, wild-eyed, still holding the spray can. You brought reinforcements, she said bitterly. You always do. Because you don't listen otherwise, I replied calmly. You made me crazy, Andrew. You and your perfect plans and your stupid systems. She shook the can. The rattle echoed like a snake. You think you're better than everyone, but you're just scared of chaos. Chaos isn't freedom, Katherine, I said quietly. It's just destruction with better lighting. Her jaw clenched. You think you've won? When I'm gone, this place will still smell like me. You'll still dream about me. I didn't answer. I just turned as the police arrived. 2 officers, one young and cautious, the other clearly tired of domestic disputes. The younger one took her statement first, listening as she spun it into a tale of heartbreak and artistic catharsis. Then they turned to me. You're pursuing the eviction? The officer asked. Yes, I said. She's been served, the court granted possession, and I'd like her removed if she violates the move-out date. Katherine folded her arms, defiant. I still have a week. The officer nodded. That's correct. Until the sheriff's office enforces the order, she's technically allowed to stay. But any further vandalism will count as property damage. Artistic expression, she muttered again. Property damage, the officer corrected. They left after filing a report. Katherine disappeared into the bedroom and slammed the door. Craig turned to me. You okay? Not really, I said, but at least I'm documented. That night, I sat in my car outside the building, staring up at the glowing balcony where my entire life had unraveled. I should have felt relief knowing it was almost over, but all I felt was exhaustion. Then, as I was about to drive away, I noticed movement in the window. A shadow. 2 shadows. I froze. No. I got out of the car and walked closer, heart thudding. Through the glass, I saw Katherine and Matthew. Back again. They were arguing. She shoved him. He grabbed her wrist. She pulled away and threw something. Looked like a wine bottle. It shattered against the wall. I debated calling the police again, but I didn't. I just took out my phone and filmed through the streetlight glow. Enough to show what was happening. Enough to protect myself. The next morning, the footage was already time-stamped, backed up, and sent to my attorney. By afternoon, I got a call. Andrew, this changes things, my lawyer said. If he's back there, and she's allowing him to stay, that's an unauthorized occupant during an eviction. It strengthens your case. We can file to expedite the sheriff's order. Do it, I said. That same day, Matthew texted me from an unknown number. You're a real piece of work, man. You'll regret this. I stared at it, then typed back. I already did. Once. Then I blocked him. A week later, the sheriff scheduled the lockout. Katherine didn't know it yet, but when she found out, she'd make sure her goodbye was unforgettable. And far, far from cool. The sheriff's office gave me the date, Friday, 9 a.m. sharp. After months of slow-motion chaos, it felt almost anticlimactic. A calendar notification that said freedom, confirmed. My lawyer told me to be present but quiet. The deputies would handle everything. Let the professionals talk, she said. No arguing, no reacting. I planned it out, like everything. I arranged movers to meet me that afternoon, booked a cleaning crew, even set up a repair inspection. The idea of reclaiming that space, my space, felt almost surreal. But Katherine had other plans. At 8:40 a.m., I parked in the visitor lot and saw her car still there, trunk open, boxes half-packed, cigarette smoke curling into the gray morning. She looked exhausted but wired, pacing like a ghost with unfinished business. When the sheriff's car pulled up, she immediately started pleading. I just need a few more days. My mom's sick. My new place isn't ready. Please, I just need time. The lead deputy, an older woman with kind eyes but no patience, shook her head. Ma'am, you've had your notice. This is the end of your occupancy. Katherine's voice cracked. He's throwing me out on the street. The deputy turned to me. Sir, you're the leaseholder? Yes, ma'am, I said. Andrew Reed. Court orders on file. She nodded. All right, you'll wait here while we handle this. From the hallway, I could hear Katherine crying, loud, theatrical sobs that made the younger deputy shift uncomfortably. But between her cries, I caught fragments of something else. Accusations whispered to herself, a muttered, "He'll regret this." After about 10 minutes, the deputies came out with her suitcase. She followed behind them, cheeks streaked with tears, face hard. "You win," she said, voice trembling. "You always do, don't you, Andrew?" "This isn't about winning," I said softly. "It's about ending." She stopped in front of me, eyes blazing. "You'll miss me when your perfect little world feels empty again." I didn't answer. The deputy gestured toward the elevator. "Ma'am, it's time." As the doors closed, she held my gaze until the last second. Once she was gone, I stepped back inside. Silence. Real silence, for the first time in months. I expected anger, sadness, maybe relief, but what I felt most was grief. Grief for how something beautiful had turned into a legal proceeding. I started walking through the apartment, documenting everything for the final inspection. At first glance, it looked like she'd taken only clothes and makeup. But then I noticed the damage. The bathroom sink was cracked. The living room wall bore faint outlines where paintings used to hang, each nail bent. The "Be Cool" graffiti had been half-heartedly scrubbed, leaving a pink haze. Then I stepped into the bedroom. The mattress had been slashed. My laptop was gone. The closet smelled faintly of nail polish remover and burnt plastic. And on the nightstand sat a single Polaroid of Katherine, holding a wine glass, blowing a kiss at the camera. On the back, she'd written, "Don't worry. I left you something to remember me by." My stomach sank. I opened the drawers. Everything, the letters, the receipts, even the USB drives with my architectural designs, gone. I called Craig immediately. "I need the building's security footage. Everything from the last 48 hours. When we pulled it later that afternoon, it was clear as day. Katherine and Matthew, loading boxes into her car at midnight, laughing, toasting with champagne in the hallway. And at the very end of the clip, Matthew spray painting one last thing on the elevator door before leaving. In dripping red letters, it read, "Over." The damage estimate came back 2 days later, $14,892. Broken fixtures, stolen electronics, property defacement. My lawyer called it textbook malice. I called it closure with a price tag. "File the civil suit," I said. "Every penny." She hesitated. "Are you sure you want to keep pushing this?" "Yes," I said. "Because boundaries mean nothing if you don't defend them." And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry, just steady. They wanted chaos. I was done giving it to them. This time, I'd build something that lasts. Filing the lawsuit felt less like vengeance and more like cleaning a wound. Painful, necessary, clinical. My lawyer, Denise, moved fast. She gathered the police reports, repair invoices, photos of the graffiti, even the security footage of Katherine and Matthew leaving the building with my things. 15,000 in damages, she said, flipping through the file. "You've got a solid case. Judges hate this kind of thing, vindictive vandalism after eviction. It's practically a slam dunk." Still, I didn't let myself celebrate. Nothing about this saga had gone according to plan. The court date was set for mid-July, 6 weeks after the lockout. I hadn't seen or heard from Katherine in that time, until the morning of the hearing. She arrived late, wearing all black, sunglasses, and a fake calm that barely held together. Matthew wasn't with her. Her hair looked unwashed. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her papers. I couldn't tell if she was trying to look composed or pitiful. Maybe both. When the judge entered, the air felt electric, quiet, tense. Katherine's attorney, a public defender she'd apparently gotten last minute, started with a predictable argument. My client was under emotional distress, recently displaced, and acted out of grief rather than malice. She's willing to apologize and move forward. Denise leaned toward me. "Watch this," she whispered. When it was our turn, she didn't dramatize. She simply projected the evidence on the screen. Photos of the red graffiti, the broken faucet, the destroyed mattress, and finally, the security footage. There they were, Katherine and Matthew, laughing, loading my electronics into the car, spraying over on the elevator. Katherine's head dropped the second the video started playing. The judge didn't even blink. "Ms. Holt, do you deny that this is you in the footage?" Katherine's voice cracked. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was angry. That may be, the judge said. But anger doesn't pay for damages. Denise stood, her voice steady. Your Honor, my client is simply seeking compensation for what was destroyed, nothing more. The ruling came swiftly. Judgment in my favor for $15,000 plus court costs and attorney's fees. Katherine sat motionless, tears streaking her cheeks as the bailiff handed her the paperwork. When we exited, she followed me outside into the courthouse steps. You ruined me, Andrew, she said, voice shaking. I lost my job, my apartment, everything. You ruined yourself, I said quietly. I just stopped saving you. She stared at me for a long moment, then said, Matthew left me. He said I was toxic. I wanted to feel sympathy, but all I felt was empty. Maybe now you'll stop confusing chaos with love, I said. She wiped her face, laughed bitterly. You'll be alone forever. Maybe, I said, but I'll be at peace. And then I walked away. A month later, I got confirmation. The court had approved wage garnishment. Katherine's first payment, $412, arrived in my account. It wasn't about the money. It was the principle, the acknowledgement that actions have consequences. I finally hired painters to cover the last traces of her. Every red smear, every memory of her handwriting. I replaced the slashed mattress with a minimalist frame. New sheets, clean lines. That night, when I lay down, the apartment felt different, lighter, quieter mine. I opened my phone and reactivated the smart home system. The lights hummed back to life. Welcome home, Andrew, the system said in its default voice. For the first time in months, I smiled. But as I drifted to sleep, I couldn't help noticing that I'd built the perfect house. And only now did I understand what kind of person it was truly for. Not for a couple, not for chaos, for me. After the court case, life quieted down in a way that felt almost alien. No calls, no drama, no surprises, just stillness. The money from the judgment came in gradually, small monthly payments that barely covered what I'd lost, but that wasn't the point. Each deposit was a reminder that order had finally returned. I spent my weekends repairing what they'd broken. The bathroom got new tile, the walls a fresh coat of pale gray. I even replaced the Be Cool window with new glass, stronger, soundproof, spotless. One night, Craig stopped by to check the repairs. Place looks better than before, he said. Yeah, I replied. Funny what happens when no one's trying to destroy it. We laughed, but there was a weight behind it. Later, as I stood on the balcony with a glass of whiskey, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. Just free. I'd rebuilt everything she'd ruined, except one thing. The version of myself that tolerated chaos for the sake of love. That version was gone, and I didn't miss him at all. When I went back inside, the smart home lights dimmed automatically, casting everything in warm amber. For the first time in a long time, the space didn't feel like a showroom. It felt like home. 6 months later, the apartment didn't just look new. It felt new. The air was lighter, the silence comforting instead of heavy. I'd taken up sketching again, not blueprints this time, just messy, human drawings. The kind that don't need perfect lines. Katherine had faded into the background noise of my life, like a building demolished and cleared away. Occasionally, I'd get an automated notice confirming another garnishment payment, but even that didn't sting anymore. One evening, I hosted a small dinner with friends. Nothing fancy. Pizza, laughter, no speeches, no smart lights syncing to playlists. Just people, warmth, ease. As everyone left, my friend Leo clapped me on the shoulder. Man, this place finally feels like you. I smiled. Yeah, it finally does. After they were gone, I stood in the doorway, the city lights reflecting off clean glass where Be Cool once dripped in red. It wasn't silence anymore. It was peace. And for the first time in years, I realized stability wasn't about control. It was about knowing when to let go, rebuild, and never apologize for drawing new boundaries.